Coach Rob here. I just thought I'd do a quick video on spinal anatomy because I think understanding the different sections of the spine can really help those of you that want to mobilize the thoracic, which is a common deficit that people have. This is the spine, and it's as if I was facing this way. So it starts with the cervical spine, and this has got a slight lordosis. This is when the curve is this way. Then your thoracic spine, which is the middle section, has a slight kyphosis. And then finally the lumbar spine, we're back to lordosis again. And then the very bottom of the spine, this is the sacrum and the tailbone. So the reason I want to talk about this is because there's some really good thoracic extension drills that if you don't do them correctly, you can just be sort of moving either your neck or your lower back, because your thoracic spine generally in most people is kind of like the least mobile section. And really we want to have more thoracic extension. Lots of people focus on shoulder mobility when they feel like they can't get the overhead position for Olympic lifting or for handstand push-ups or something. But really, like, the shoulder is the most mobile joint in the human body already. It gives us access to all these different locations. And when we try and increase that mobility even more to compensate for a lack of thoracic extension, we can actually like put ourselves in a weaker position. So although this thoracic spine might not move very much, if you just gain a few tiny degrees or millimeters of extension through your thoracic, it changes the position of your whole shoulder girdle. And then when you're doing handstands and when you're doing snatches, you require less shoulder mobility and you actually end up in a more stable position. So if you think about the spine as a whole unit, global flexion of the spine would be something like this. Global extension of the spine would be something like this. When we want to mobilize a specific section of the spine, what we want to do is we want to block the movement in the sections either side. So if we want your thoracic to move, we want to stop your neck from moving and stop your lumbar from moving, so that when we kind of flex and extend, that movement comes from our thoracic spine. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through the different ways you can block the neck and the lower back and get some extension through the thoracic spine. First one, with your neck, you kind of, if you tuck your chin, almost give yourself a double chin like this, and lengthen the back of your neck, this kind of lengthens out the cervical spine. It stops it from extending like this, okay? So that'd be the first one. Double chin, lengthen the back of your neck. With your lumbar spine, you're gonna kind of soften your knees and tuck your tail, almost like a hollow body position, flattening out my lower back at the same time. And then I kind of put my hands in this prayer position and rest my chin on my fingers, so it forces me to keep my cervical spine blocked, keep my tail tucked, and then I try and extend, maintaining those two blocks. So then the only section that's left that can move is the thoracic spine. Also, when you're doing this movement, you're going to want to pull your shoulders down and your elbows in, because this is going to stop the movement coming from your scapulars. So it's going to isolate it in your thoracic spine. When you first do the movement, it's going to be really small, so you can see the movements, the flexion and extension is almost imperceptible. You also need to play with like the amount of tension you put into the movement. So if I like really block as hard as I can with my neck and I tuck my tail as hard as I can, I'm focused so much on these contractions, I put so much stimulus into the system that I can't actually feel my thoracic very well. So it's very nuanced. So it's like, you know, I tuck my tail and flatten my back, but I'm not contracting too hard. I tuck my chin and rest my chin on my fingers, but I'm not doing it so hard that I can't feel. Now I really try and become aware of my thoracic spine, constantly recycling, checking that I'm staying blocked in the two other areas. And for me, if you can sort of start to feel an ache in your thoracic spine, normally that means, you're going into a range you're not used to and the muscles are getting fatigued. So that's a good sign. So in this next thoracic extension drill, you're going to be leaning up against the wall. Because the arms aren't blocked by the body, we now need to do something different to block the shoulder from moving. So what you're going to do is when you place your hands on the wall, you're going to externally rotate, which means it's sort of squeezing your elbows in, but you're externally rotating your upper arm like this. And that's going to create a block. Now we're doing the same 2 blocks as before for our cervical spine. So it's the chin tuck, and for our thoracic spine, it's the tail tuck, flattening the back. And then the elbows squeezing in is going to block our shoulders from moving. And again, the only piece that's left, hopefully able to move, is our thoracic spine. So it looks like this. So I can start by blocking here, then tuck my elbows in or externally rotate. Now I kind of push into an open shoulder position. Again, when you do this one, if you've got a partner and they can just like tap on your thoracic spine, it will really help you to connect with that part of your body, become aware of it, then you can feel what's going on there. Once you can feel what's going on there, and you can feel the flexion and extension happening, that's when you'll really be able to kind of keep the adaptation that you get out of the movement. So the final drill I'm going to show you is how to use rotational movement to mobilize the T-spine. So you can see the side lying position I'm in on the floor. I'm using the same principles as before. So this time, because my knees are tucked up, that's going to block my lumbar spine, and I can use the same double chin cue to block my cervical spine. And then I'm trying to keep my arms straight and kind of sweeping my hand across the floor. And as you can see, there's different variations. A fist between the knees is kind of the easiest version, and then the closer the knees come together, so when you use a palm between the knees or nothing between the knees, you're increasing the intensity by rolling your pelvis relatively away from where you're opening your chest to.